Welcome back to the Vault Podcast, where music still matters, unlike some places. Today's a pretty awesome episode. We can tell you about a place where music definitely does matter, and that's Heavy Heads Records. Dan and Patrick gave us a chance to give them an interview on the grand opening day, and it was pretty awesome. There's a couple of cool dudes. It's an awesome store. Brent, just what's your initial thoughts when you walked in?
My initial thoughts when I walked in was it was like the old school kind of record store that you always, used to hear about and everything. Like as a kid, I used to see, and I always thought of 70s or whatever, when the records were the big deal. And it was just real laid back, awesome music playing, and the selection was outstanding. So,
yeah, the selection's awesome. The prices are awesome. I loved it was a smaller store, so it has this real intimate feel. There's couches sitting around if you want to just take it easy and listen to some music. They had a Ozzy DVD going, I believe. Yep. And, everybody, there's somebody there from every walk of life. There's, older guys looking at jazz music. There was us looking at metal and who knows what else. And just everybody just hanging out, talking music. It was just an awesome atmosphere. And it's exactly what we're trying to do with the website, bring everybody together to just, be involved with awesome kinds of music. But in this interview, we got pretty enlightening things, They gave us their opinions on state of music, and we find out that Bob Dylan is not the greatest songwriter ever. And we also had one of the best impressions of Bobby Liebling that I've heard by Dan, so that's pretty awesome.
Yep.
And then we had some just different people walking in and out while we were interviewing, and you can hear music playing in the background while we're interviewing, and it was just a really authentic feel to the sound of everything. So I tried to edit as little as I could in this show. So I hope you guys enjoy it. Here you go. Heavy Heads Records, which we are in right now if you can't hear the music behind us, and I just spent entirely way too much money on awesome music. Guys, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hey, I'm Dan Evans. I am the owner of Heavy Heads Records.
I'm Patrick Houtz, and I work here.
Do you also spend way too much money?
I spend way too much money.
He did, in fact, today.
Yes.
Kind of a broad question, but what have you guys been listening to lately or been playing here at the store that people been wanting, whatever?
Right now I'm playing the Blues Pills. They're a band out of Europe that's starting to get a lot of traction here. They actually opened up for Pentagram a few dates in Europe, so they're very, female-fronted, that kind of got the doom elements, but yet they've got the old Jefferson Airplane gray slick feel to them from the 60s and 70s. But we play a little bit of everything in here, that everything from that to Townes Van Zandt to hell, you name it, man. Motorhead, we were playing.
Yeah, I could tell by the selection of music, especially what I bought. There's a little bit of everything, and then I had to put a Psychedelic Furs album back because I almost ran out of money. But, that's everything we've just talked about, and then I just threw in Psychedelic Furs. So.
Hey, it's all right, man. A lot of people did that today.
Yeah, I think mostly what I've been listening to myself. A lot of Fleetwood Mac, a lot of Electric Wizard. Been listening to St. Vitus pretty consistently. Pentagram as well.
You brought up the female-fronted doom thing earlier. Online, I see a bunch of flack about there's too many bands that have the female front and they're just doing the same thing. Just what's your opinion on that?
I would say that's right. There are too many bands doing that, I think. But I don't know. When the whole doom resurgence came about, it was just like the thrash resurgence that came about. A handful of years ago, all of a sudden everybody picked up a guitar and they could play fast, and there you go. So now you got everybody hires, a good-looking chick that can sing all right, and there it is. But, you've got, but there's some really great bands that come out of that. Blood Ceremony, the Blues Pills. I really like Royal Thunder, too, and their new album I just heard the other day. It comes out next week, which we'll be carrying that. Little plug there for that. And
plug anything you want.
It's really good. It's they kind of stepped away from those doomier roots, and they went more to an alternative sound, so I don't know. It sounds pretty cool. I'm interested to hear the whole record. But
so I gotta be honest on the whole female thing. I don't notice it so much in the Blues Pills type stuff. This is the first I've ever heard of them. I'm actually digging this really well. This is cool.
And they're killer.
But a lot of it's I don't know, like Lacuna Coil, kind of like everybody had to play like this
kind of metal stuff.
It got very
Yeah.
generic.
Yeah.
I think that's the biggest
And
thing.
I tend to blame Evanescence personally.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree.
Yeah,
I
things
agree.
just got really generic in that way, and I think a lot of the creativity went out the window, and it just went to a stylistic thing, which is never good.
Yeah, and you get like, especially like your European bands and stuff. I listen to a lot of like pagan Viking metal and stuff like that.
Oh, absolutely.
Just I don't know, it's weird like that.
Yeah.
But, and a lot of their stuff anymore has a lot of women and everything. And I'm gonna butcher the name of this band, but what is it, like Illuvitae or whatever?
Eluvete or something. I don't know. Yeah, however, it's
But you know, they've got like, what's her name, Anna Murphy out of that band.
Yeah.
Is phenomenally talented, but it's like the band was playing some awesome stuff, and now it's like everything focuses on her just because that's kind of the thing right now.
yep.
Yeah, which is also a bad way to go as well.
So before we spiral out of control, because that's going to happen. Just a quick history of your guys' lives in music, like what got you started in it when you decided like this is a thing. You know, this is whether or not you're playing or just a fan. Like this is something you're focused on. It's what you revolve your life around.
Man, I bought my first LP when I was 14 years old downtown.
Still have it?
I do.
Awesome.
I do, and it was Black Sabbath's self-titled first LP, and that's kind of what started it all. You know, I went from there and just continued to love music and vinyl whenever nobody loved vinyl. You know, everybody thought I was, you know, insane for buying records. And then, you know, speed forward a few years, you know, I ended up networking enough that, you know, I've worked for Pentagram and St. Vitus and you know, Wino and a bunch of great guys like that. So I've been on the road and seen a lot of cool things, man, and that's been a real blessing for sure. You know, and then on top of that, you know, I've gotten to work in record stores my whole life. You know, I'd say a majority of my retail experience is in record stores, so it's about time I opened up my own.
I do want to ask you a question on that real
Yeah,
quick,
yeah.
though, because we've talked about this in other shows.
Huh?
Like, a lot of people are kind of scared to take that step into doing what they want to do, regardless of like monetary aspects of it.
Yeah.
What's your thoughts on that? Like, I guess, what advice would you have to people who want to either open a store of any kind, or you know, start a small business or anything like that, of whatever their passion is?
I'm gonna be cheesy and use the Nike slogan of "Just do it." Just fucking do it. Seriously. You know, don't ever let people tell you there's not enough money, you can't do it, there's not enough time. If you've got a dream, you got to chase after it, and you just got to make it happen, because, you know,
You put the work in, too. A lot of people just
you
think it's
do.
going to be easy.
You do, and, you know, and unfortunately that's, you know, a lot of people from my generation, you know, they think, oh, well, this will just happen. And it didn't, because I can tell you guys, I have, you know, opening this store has been one of the most stressful experiences of my life. And there were times that I just didn't want to do it, you know, because it got to a point that it was driving me crazy. But, and, you know, I mean, as far as people playing in bands, I know there's a whole lot of people that listen to your podcast that play music. You know, I tried that for a while, and I realized I was just better working for people that play music, you know, and selling it. You know, that's where I'm at. You know, I'm a people person. And, you know, you got to get out there on the road. You got to suffer, and it's going to suck. But if you really love what you're doing, you believe in your music, then I think it'll pay off, you know. You just got to throw it up in the cosmos with positive vibes, and it'll happen. But
Yeah, and I can't disagree with Dan at all, honestly. I think his aspects on everything are very right on. Like, for me, I mean, I first started getting into music heavily. My dad playing first Boston record, probably one of the biggest influences to me. And then, I mean, my mom's an incredible singer. My family's actually pretty talented musically on that side. Then I kind of got into my early days. I used to play bass in some bands, and then I toured as a guitar tech for a while. Then I managed a record store as well. And then, you know,
What bands did you tour with your guitar tech?
I worked for a band called 12 Summers Old out of St. Louis. And that was primarily who I worked for. I've done stuff for a bunch of other different people besides that, but that's probably definitely the biggest thing that I did. And then kind of ended up here. We've known each other for 10 plus years, and you know, about 6-7 years ago, we both kind of really got into the same style of music.
Yep.
And it's all taken off since then.
I don't think you mentioned what's the first, because he said Sabbath, what's the first piece of music you ever owned or bought or got given to you? Or
First album I ever honestly owned myself was Girls, Girls, Girls by Motley Crue. Me and my dad used to listen to it all the time.
Okay, next up, first concert.
My first concert, I love telling this story. I was 11 years old, and my mom and dad took me to see Kiss. It was the 99, farewell tour, one of like 46 farewell tours they've done.
The final.
That was the first time I ever smelled weed, and the first time I ever saw, multiple sets of tits in a row. And it was great. It was great, man. I'll never forget it. Ted Nugent opened up that show, and see, he fired a bow and arrow at a picture of Janet Reno. I remember that was pretty incredible. Especially to be 11 years old and see that. That was just something else. So, you got to love Uncle Ted, even though I think he's got shitty politics. He's still awesome. So, that was my first concert.
My first show was actually, I saw Metallica. That was the very first band I ever saw in concert. It's actually the biggest show I've ever gone to. It was in, 99, 2000, somewhere in there. And I went with a bunch of people from school. And actually that show was the point that I decided to start playing bass. And that definitely was a big inspiration at the time. And it definitely was a big pivotal moment to me. I mean, it definitely changed my view. I saw the passion and the excitement from the crowd, and I really clicked with all that, and it definitely changed everything that I thought at the time. At the time I was really into athletics, and that actually completely flipped my switch to my focus was music after that.
This is a broad question that's going to end up spiraling, like I said.
I love it.
All our shows end up doing this. These are the best ones.
Hey, I can bullshit all night, man. Let's go ahead.
Current state of music. This could be, formats of music sold, music as a whole, whatever. It's your open.
Let's get the drinks out of the way.
I'm moving drinks.
Yeah.
Here comes more.
Yeah, we're serving more now. The current state of music. Well, good and bad.
Pretty broad, so.
Good and bad, man. Let's talk about vinyl. I mean, that's what I'm selling. It's my primary source of sales. Vinyl has gone up every year sales-wise. More and more money is being made. More record stores are being born again.
Stop you right there.
Yeah.
Your prices are awesome.
Thank you. I tried to keep them very fair.
I picked up albums today that I had found only online or at some place, and it was like multiple hundreds of dollars.
Yeah.
That I picked up here for like 40. So,
yeah.
I mean, it's
great.
And
I looked every one of those up, man, and there's a lot of record stores all over the country that they want to stuff everything cool like that in a back room, and they want to put it on Discogs or eBay, and they want to get that $200. I understand. I don't blame them, but I would rather sell it locally if I can at a kind of meet me in the middle price. I still do some online stuff, but
well, you kind of have to as any kind of business nowadays.
You do.
It's too wide of a market.
It's what keeps stuff like this afloat. That's for sure, man. But as far as the state of music goes, I am happy about the fact that people are revolting against downloads and people are actually wanting physical copies of stuff. The only, of course, now this is my opinionated side coming out now, but the only thing that pisses me off is I think the state of, modern music. I think it's getting better in some areas and it's getting a lot worse. I mean, I've had a lot of kids come in and ask me for Kendrick Lamar's new album on LP, and whatever you're into, but to me that's just garbage. If music has no soul, then fuck it, man. I'll sell it. If you want to buy it, I'll sell it to you. I'm happy to carry it, but I don't know. But at the same time, a lot of younger people and just people in general are starting to gravitate towards stuff with more soul. And I don't care if it's rap or metal or jazz, whatever. As long as it has soul and it's got real heart in it, and if there's lyrics, as long as it has content that matters, that's what's most important. And we're starting to see a resurgence in that for sure. So, that's kind of my take on it. But yeah, the cost of new vinyl is getting more expensive, so it's tougher for me to push
it's
it.
produced much better, though.
It is.
Quality.
It is.
You're getting what you pay for.
And I appreciate you saying that, too. There's a company I work with very closely out of Kansas called Acoustic Sounds that, they do reissues of The Doors on 45 RPM, and Stevie Ray Vaughan, you name it, all the classic bands, Floyd. And, people go, well, why the hell should I pay $50 for this record? And then I put it on. This happened today. I put it on and they go, oh, it sounds that much better, So, anyways, I think things are getting better. And, and I think there's a lot of new up-and-coming artists and bands that are promising. I think we're seeing a turnaround.
Well, in the same vein, you're talking about, the quality is so much better and everything. We shared a link a while back on the Facebook page. Zane, I know you saw it. There's the company out there that's selling, records and stuff for ridiculous prices.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
The store in, where was it?
Yeah.
It was in California?
Selling stuff for $1,000 a pop.
Yeah.
Yeah, and, these weren't, old, rare albums.
No.
I mean,
like regular Atlantic pressings of Zeppelin 3 and stuff, he was asking $1,000 for it.
Yeah, and he was saying, well, it's because, I cleaned it with this and brushed it and all this and other things. I mean, to me, I never really got into vinyl per se and everything. When I got into music, we were just switching over from cassettes, into CDs. So that was what my bulk of my collection was in. And so, I'm starting to look into vinyl and everything. It's kind of making a resurgence, whatever.
Yeah.
And I see stuff like that, and it's like, well, what the hell? I'm not going to pay that for that.
No.
So, I was just going to kind of get your take on some of that. I understand, the sound quality's great. You want to pay for some of that.
Well, I read that guy's interview, that whole article, and what really burnt my ass about what he said was the fact he started slamming companies like Acoustic Sounds and Quality Pressings about doing these expensive represses. And saying, "Oh, well, these originals just sound so much better." He's full of shit. They don't,
just not
man.
True.
And honestly, it's not true. And you don't got to take my word for it. Go ahead and put an original up against one of those repressings, and decide for yourself. Because I'd bet money on the fact that you would like the repressing better. It doesn't go for all repressings. There's a lot of companies like Rhino that they don't do a whole lot of good repressings, but I don't know. Originals are great, but I think where it's at is some of these audiophile remasters. For sure.
I think you were talking about getting into vinyl. I think what got started me on it was the type of bands. Like if you wanted to find their music, and I'll just say most of the stuff was like 70s and 80s popular rock when I first started getting into it. The only thing you could mainly find it on was vinyl, because even though they made them on CDs, they were actually kind of harder to find at any retail place that sold CDs. So, do you think that that's going to continue to be a trend as far as the newer music, or new bands and existing bands continuing to put out new releases on vinyl?
Oh yeah, I think it's definitely going to continue. I think it's going to keep growing. As soon as the record companies see those sales go up like they have every year for the past, I think, 5-6 years, I think they'll press everything they can no matter what it is on vinyl.
Wasn't it last year that it's the highest it's been in 18 years?
It went up like 23% or something, I read. So, and I don't stock every single new release on vinyl, but I try to. You really can't, no. But I try to stock, what I think people around here will want. So, and then of course the stuff I like that I try to push, So,
there's some killer stuff coming out right now. The Skull just put out a record. It's one of the best sounding records you could probably pick up right now.
Former members of Trouble.
Yeah, incredible band. There's bands out there. I think, back to your state of music question, I think in reality there's a sub-level that is untapped that's getting ready to be tapped. A band like The Skull. There's a band out of Texas, Blood of the Sun, has Henry Vasquez and Vitus in it. Incredible band. I mean, there's guys down there like John Perez, just great guitar player. There's a whole just group of people out there that are just incredible. And, I mean, music as a whole, I think, commercially kind of sucks. But the under scene is great.
I think you had the latest Taylor Swift over here.
I do, man. You know, it didn't sell today, but it'll sell.
Yep.
You know, I mean, you know, you got to remember I'm a business. I want to make money, so you know.
Well, it's like you said earlier. I mean, if somebody wanted to realistically listen to Taylor Swift and then turn around and listen to like Possessed, like I don't have any problem with that. Honestly,
no.
like,
well, and I'll be honest with you.
That's what the site's all about.
On the new release rack,
cool.
I got Katy Perry. I fucking love Katy Perry. I don't care.
Yeah.
I do too. I was like, I'll back that up. I was
great.
like, she's incredible.
And what's crazy about artists like her and even Taylor Swift, you know, I mean, now that they're starting to see this whole vinyl resurgence happen, they're actually starting to master their albums for vinyl as well, which is cool because at first what was going on is they were just doing these digital transfers onto vinyl, which is just a joke.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, there's just nothing okay about that. It sounds like crap, and you're paying for, I mean, something that's, you know, of lesser quality than a bootleg, really. But, you know, it's different now.
Two things.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think about bands, even like you know, newer bands, local bands, whatever, trying to press vinyl? Because like I'll talk to band members. I'm like, hey, are you gonna have this on cassette or are you gonna have it on vinyl instead of just some cheap MP3? And they're like, no, it costs too much to produce it. So where's your stance on that as far as advice towards bands?
You know, I actually just had that talk with a member of a certain local band the other day. I think cassettes are where it's at for local bands right now. You know, my first sale in the store was cassettes. It was ridiculous. You know, I couldn't believe it.
There's a resurgence of that.
There
too.
is. It's huge. You know, they're repressing them. I sold a repress of some St. Vitus cassettes today, you know, and Witchcraft as well, I think. But, you know, it's... I would encourage local bands to do cassettes. And vinyl, you know, there are plenty of pressing plants that are affordable. You know, if the bands pool their money together, I highly recommend it, you know. But as far as a download goes, I don't think that'll ever work for them. It's a good way to spread the word and whatnot on Facebook or whatever form of social media. But, you know, if people come out to your shows, they like seeing, you know, if you've got like a 10-inch LP or something, they're likely to buy that. You know, people like supporting local music, I think. But I don't know. I guess it just depends on the band too. You know, I don't know that I would guide everybody in that direction, but definitely cassettes. Cassettes are very cheap to make. You know, that's what I would recommend to everybody local. Go cassette. People buy them. They love them.
Anything to add?
Yeah, I mean, if you really believe in what you're doing, I think doing cassette or vinyl is really where it's at. I mean, you are going to get out what you put into stuff, and if you just want to throw out a download, no one's going to take you seriously with just a download. You've got to go out of your way. You've got to really, if you don't believe in yourself enough to press your own stuff, then you probably aren't going to go very far in all reality. That's not true for everyone, but I mean, it has worked out for the few.
Yeah.
But working class bands that are really, really true to what they believe, I mean, that's just part. As a musician, I can't imagine not wanting to hear myself on a vinyl or a tape. And that, to me, it boggles my mind to think people don't want to hear that anymore.
And I'll tell you, whenever I've been on tour with Pentagram and local bands from different areas come up and I've had them hand Bobby and Victor download cards before. And let me tell you what happens to those. They get wadded up and thrown on the ground in the parking lot. But if a local band comes up with a CD or a tape, Victor and Bobby keep those. They keep them, and they eventually listen to them. You know, so, you know, especially whenever you're trying to, you know, hand off your promos or whatever to people that are in the business, they don't want a download card from you, you know.
Well, it has no, going back to what you said earlier, it has no heart to it.
Mm-hmm.
It's a piece of paper. It's not a physical piece of art.
You're
exactly.
Right. And heart's everything. I mean, that's what drives music.
And, I mean, there are things like... audiobooks and podcasts and stuff like that there is no physical medium for those. Mm-hmm. That's something totally different though. You led me into two other questions. As far as like when you produce cassettes, and this is for anything from national bands to local bands, you're doing cassettes, vinyl, anything. What's your opinion on like having limited runs on things? Like I'm a total sucker for that stuff.
Oh, I love it.
So like if I see something that there's only like 10 of them made or something like that, I'm going to do whatever I got to do to get it.
Yep.
So what do you think? I've tried to tell local bands that before, local artists, and they don't buy into it. So
People love the idea of getting something that they think they can't have. And that kind of goes along with it, and I'm one of those people. I mean,
me too.
Rise Above Records that used to have Electric Wizard and Uncle Acid and all
Uncle
those.
Acid, yep.
They put out those Die Hard editions, and if I miss the pre-order, I've been known to pay several $100s for a Die Hard edition before because I'm a sucker, and it's worth it. It's a great product, man. It doesn't lose value. I mean, I've got that last Uncle Acid record, Die Hard edition. I ended up paying like $200 some for it after the fact, but it goes for $500 or $600 now. So
it's well worth having though.
I think that's a good idea. I like the idea, and even for local bands, lesser known bands, I think it's great. Hey, we got a really awesome live show, and we're only going to have 20 of these on cassette or whatever.
I think going that extra step
to
make sure you're putting something out, which then that leads me to my next question. We did a black metal podcast last time. We were talking about lo-fi and then the high quality, and we had Greg Vance from In Full Darkness on. He likes the high quality. We like both. That's another thing. Like, I wish there were local bands. I don't care if it's like a singer-songwriter, country artist, whatever it is. Put your stuff out there, whether it's recorded into a tape deck even. Like, look what the really early Dark Throne stuff sounded like, and then look what happened to them eventually. So what's your take on all that?
Well, I mean you're just talking about putting physical copies
Getting
of stuff out
something
there.
out there,
No, I totally agree, man. And there's
because I'll use the example. I've talked to people who are like, oh, we've got stuff I'm working on, but I'm looking for a good producer, or I'm looking for a good studio, instead of just figuring something out and doing it.
Yeah. I mean, you can have a studio on your laptop now.
That's what we're doing right now.
Yeah, that's exactly. That's what we're doing right now. So, physical copies are the way to go. I don't care how crummy your demo sounds. Put them on cassettes. It's so cheap to do. I get tired of these bands pushing their crap off on Bandcamp or whatever else. I mean, and they always invite me to listen to it, and I know they've got the best of intentions, and I know I sound like an asshole, but I'm not going to listen to it online. If you hand me a cassette, though, or if you send me a CD or a 45 or whatever, I will listen to it, and that's just how it is, I just, I'm not impressed with how many hits you get on your Bandcamp, I just, sorry. It's just, bring me, I'm going to have an end cap built for the store. It's being built right now for local artists,
That's
to
awesome.
bring me their cassette. And I've already got a stack of them back there, cassettes, vinyl, CDs, whatever, and I don't even take any money from them on it. I just sell it for them, so I want to give them.
I have kind of a weird opinion on the audio, as far as recording. I think if you're starting out, I definitely think no matter what, it's good to just put it down.
Right.
I do, however, think that if you get to the point, there's no reason to not. You can still have a gritty, dirty edge without giving up your sound.
Yeah, I totally agree.
There's a fine medium, and there's very few producers out there right there. They're great at doing that. But I think that as long as you're first starting out, you should definitely do whatever you need to do. But when you start getting to the point that you can, even if it costs you your own money, it's more important, because the better you sound, even if it's, it doesn't have to be polished, but it has to be
it's
well
about having
produced.
soul, like you
Yeah,
said.
yeah, it still has to have soul. You go back, a band like the Black Crowes, 90s. All that stuff is polished, but their soul is never lost. Right?
I like listening to tons of Howlin' Wolf.
That's
awesome,
recording
man.
is super
Any
rough,
of that
but,
stuff. It's incredible. And I think that a lot of people, though, use the excuse of, well, it's cool because it's lo-fi, as an excuse to record cheap now. And I don't think that's a real good reason to do it either. If that's what you want to do and that's where your heart's at, that's one thing. Right. But a lot of people use the excuse of going cheap and using that as an out
to do it purposely.
Yeah, and that's not a good way to do it. And that's, if you want to do that, that's up to you. But I personally probably won't listen to it.
This is going to be kind of weird because we just talked about how many genres we like. What's both of your favorite and least favorite genres? And I know we're not this isn't politically correct what I'm going to say to you. We're not genre Nazis. We're just, just what it is,
favorite and least favorite.
Stop.
You know, it's oh man, favorite. I'm a classic rock guy through and through, man. You know, and then anything modern that maintains that same vibe and that same soul, that's what I like. You know, and I love a lot of country.
Sturgill Simpson.
I love Sturgill,
Yeah.
man. Yeah, that's real country. That's real country.
He's
Yeah,
a real guy, real deal.
it's the real deal. You know, it's I'm as far as stuff I don't like. You know, I mean, I'm not a big rap hip hop guy. You know, I try to be knowledgeable about that stuff. A lot of people are, and a lot of people want it on vinyl. So
Well, the
I try
fact
to
that
keep
you're
up,
taking
but-
the steps to even be somewhat knowledgeable on it
Yeah.
is more than some of those fans.
Oh yeah, I
And
know.
that's with any genre.
I know.
I'll never forget. I tell this story all the time. The new metal stuff was really big, and I was like getting out of that.
Mm-hmm.
I had a Dillinger Escape Plan album, and I let this guy listen to it, and he's like, "Oh, it sounds like offbeat Slipknot," and I'm like, "What? What the heck? That doesn't sound anything."
Mm-hmm.
And that's exactly what, you know. He's just not knowledgeable and seeking out anything
Exactly.
else, so.
Exactly.
You know, I mean, honestly, I wide variety. Blues, big Johnny Winter fan.
Oh yeah.
I mean, Stevie Ray Vaughan, you can't
Robin
go wrong
Trower.
with that.
Yeah.
Robin Trower, Sonny Boy Williamson. I like a lot of that era stuff. The band, I'm a huge Skynyrd fan. Then, you know, go ahead, and I hate to use the word doom. I really do.
Yeah.
I hate, Warren Haynes is also another.
Before we go into doom, Warren
Yeah,
Haynes.
that's huge. And I hate to use the word doom, but, I mean, obviously, there's great bands all over the place, but they maintain what music was really supposed to be about. Bands like Pentagram, it's all an extension, and it's all incredible. It all maintains the same vibe to me, same as you.
Yep.
But I mean, it's kind of, I go all over the place. I also love country. I mean, you go down anything Johnny Cash, Waylon Jennings, David Allan Coe,
George Jones.
George
Absolutely,
Jones.
the possum.
is amazing.
Yep.
I mean, it's just Townes Van Zandt.
Yeah. Let's go ahead real quick. I want to just say something. Fuck Bob Dylan. Okay. When it comes to American songwriting, everybody needs to check out Townes Van Zandt that loves folk and, you know, folk lyrics. Townes Van Zandt's your guy.
He
Anyways.
truly was the greatest American songwriter of that era.
I'll circle back around to what we were talking about earlier as far as like Bandcamp and stuff. It just came to me. What's your opinion on having the songs on YouTube? Because I'll be completely honest, I wouldn't know a lot of the bands I know if I didn't. I just call it YouTube snowballing, where I'll pick, like, say I pick a Pentagram song, and then all of a sudden there's suggestions on the right of bands I've never heard of, and I just keep going and going and going. I get this big list going.
I'm the same way. I actually love that, man. That's another side of the card there. I love YouTube for that reason. You know, I've found a lot of bands that way. Matt, who replaced Victor Griffin in Pentagram, told me a funny story while he was with the Skull in St. Louis, how they used to play this game on YouTube of Find Slayer, and they would go to like a Mr. Rogers video on YouTube, and you had to find a Slayer video within like 6 clicks, or you'd lose, and you'd have to. And anyway, I don't know. It just sounds funny as hell. But
That's awesome.
YouTube's been great, man. I wouldn't have discovered a lot of stuff without him. You know, and there's a lot of albums by bands that I passed over, and it's like, oh shit, I need to check this out. And, you know, so yeah, I think YouTube's great, but
YouTube is a necessary thing, and I think in today's, I mean, there's no way you can get around it. Digital market is there regardless of what anybody wants. But I think the people that really are looking will go on YouTube, just like me or Dan does. Check out stuff, and it may lead you to something you never dreamed you would have discovered. And that day, I'm going to run out to the record store, and I don't care if it's $50, I'm going to buy it, because that's just, I mean, that's how I'm built with music. And I think it's an important thing when used correctly. I think a lot of people just abuse the privilege of the fact we can access everything. That doesn't mean you should have it for free, though.
mm-hmm.
My problem is I get the list from that built up too high, and
Yeah.
then I'm literally like 200 artists behind.
Yep,
And
I know.
then I go broke like I did today, spending too much money, but at least I got them now. So
You got a free T-shirt, man.
I did. It's an awesome T-shirt at that.
Yeah, the thing YouTube always does for me, I just always feel like I missed out on so much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it was like I went on and I don't remember what it was now. I think you sent me a link to something that was completely unrelated. And like 4 or 5 clicks later, I'm listening to Hawkwind.
Yeah.
And it's like, where the hell were these guys? And it turns out I was the one who missed them.
Well, and it makes you feel like a total buffoon because what was I doing listening to this when I was growing up? I should have been listening to this and not this stuff that was popular at the time.
Well, it's like it's like I looked at my CDs and it's like I find Psycore and it's like, really? Yeah, I have that one.
I do the same.
I know.
I do the same thing. I will say though, I did. You guys can all make fun of me for this, but I did pre-order the new Coal Chamber album.
No, I wouldn't make fun of you for that.
There's only 500 of those on purple vinyl.
That's awesome,
and it was
man.
only like $20. So
I always enjoyed Coal Chamber.
I did too. I know you did too.
While we're talking about
yeah,
that, what do you? I mean,
Mikey
there are so many
Mikey
people.
and Niggs are some of the coolest, two of the coolest dudes I've ever met. Actually, honestly,
There's so many people that like they used to listen to a style of music and then they don't anymore, so they go back and trash it. Like I don't understand that.
No, yeah, I know a lot of people do that.
It should just build your portfolio of
It
music,
should.
you know.
And they're, they're one of those bands for me that's kind of nostalgic too. You know, I used to love them so much, and so I'll buy their new album when it comes out. You know, it's just like, here's another one, Marilyn Manson. I was a huge Manson fan when I was younger, and then I kind of trashed him for a while. I was like, man, he's lame. And his new album came out, and it's a killer album. It's one of the best albums that's come out this year as far. So
definitely one of the best audios.
Man,
you'll ever hear.
On vinyl it sounds
it's
phenomenal. It's A+.
This could go on for a while.
Yeah.
Each of you, 5 of your most influential bands, singer-songwriters, artists, anything.
Oh God.
And reasons.
Oh, sweet.
It's gonna be fun.
And reasons, a reason per band.
Yeah.
Well,
because that's, that may sound like a chore, but sometimes people need to hear why a band is so important. That's
with me, lyrics have always been key. So no matter what style of music you play, if you can write good lyrics, that's what matters to me. So, most recently, I went and saw Fleetwood Mac 2 times the past week. So I've been on a bit of a kick again. But ever since I was a kid, the second record I ever got was given to me by my mom and dad, and it was Rumors on vinyl. So, anybody that's ever, been through a shitty relationship, if you can't relate to that album, then you are deaf, I guess. It's just, that's like the king of albums for that type of experience. But everything they've done is great. I love Fleetwood Mac, the blues era with Peter Green. So they're right up there for me. Ronnie James Dio, in my opinion, is the greatest songwriter in metal history for sure. Songs like Heaven and Hell and Lonely is the Word. You just can't beat him. Nobody will ever be able to write lyrics like that again. Trying to think of other bands here. Townes Van Zandt, who I talked about earlier. Some of the most depressing stuff you will ever listen to. He makes Hank Williams sound like the Spice Girls. I swear that guy writes some. I love Hank Williams. I'm not trashing him. I'm just saying Townes. You listen to the song Nothing. It'll make you think about getting a revolver out. But it's just like it's crazy. I'm trying to think of who else. Government Mule has been a huge deal for me the past several years. I've seen them a countless number of times at this point. I even went with Victor Griffin of Pentagram. Me and him went to see Mule in Nashville one time, which was pretty awesome. And so Warren Haynes really, that guy's kind of a no walls. Guys from the metal community love him, country, rock, whatever. But he's been a huge influence. Trying to think anybody else, and then on the countryside, on the real countryside, George Jones, man, there's another guy who wrote some great lyrics, even songs that weren't his, that he didn't write, he sang them with such conviction, it doesn't matter, he made them his. Then, you go to the psych side, I'm a huge Rocky Erickson fan. That guy, he's been a big inspiration to me, so crazy as he may be. But, and then, Pentagram, who I've had the pleasure of working for, they're amazing. You've got a bunch of great guys in that band currently. Victor, the original guitarist, he's been a great friend to me and a great help. his band plays the skulls he has. I highly recommend him. Very inspirational. And then Bobby, anybody that's seen the documentary knows that Bobby is quite insane, but he has got a heart of gold. He is amazing, But yeah, there's been a lot of great people and a lot of great bands that have inspired me. Some of them I've gotten to work for and go on the road with, and some of them, I feel like I know because they've played such an important role. But yeah, that's all I got.
It's a pretty good list.
I'll say first and foremost, honestly, one of the biggest influences to me, especially the last few years, Led Zeppelin. As cliche as that may be, I don't think there's many people that did it better than what they did, period. You can't pick out a person in that band and pull apart anything bad about their playing style to me. And I would rival them musicianship-wise anybody ever. Great. Immigrant Song is probably one of the greatest songs ever to me. And it's, I don't know, something about that. Everything they do is just very, very, very inspirational. I don't know how you can't want to pick up an instrument after not listening to that. And then, man, get down, I still listen to, I love Skinner, honestly, especially the older I've gotten. I think the guitar work on that stuff is super underrated. I think that they haven't carried as well as, a lot of people don't see them how they should, just because of this stigma that comes with them.
Freebird?
Freebird. Not every song was Freebird and Sweet Home Alabama, let's be honest.
Yeah.
It's they've put out, they put out some of the best records during that time period, anyone. And then I have to agree with him, especially as of late, Townes Van Zant's been big with me as well. Lyrically, that guy's untouchable. There is not anybody in that style that does it that way. He definitely did his thing. Let's see. Trying to think. It's tough to pick out a few.
No. He picked more than a few, so you can pick one.
Yeah, I know. I can ramble on.
It's too hard when you're a huge fan.
Well, it's funny. It's kind of weird. He kind of changed my view. Sabbath with Ozzy was always a huge influence to me, and I still think that lineup is fantastic. But I will definitely agree the Dio era stuff. Once I really grasped it and got over how I was as a younger kid and didn't really relate to the vocals a lot at that time, now I can safely say lyrically that stuff's just impressive. Rush is another band that obviously
it took him forever to get into Rush.
I hated Rush for the longest
time. I did too.
And that's understandable. Yeah, no,
I did
absolutely.
too.
See, when I was younger, I did not. It's just not something I connected with.
Yeah.
But once I got it, I got it.
Yep.
And then lately, we've been listening to a lot of random stuff here. Blues Pills. That band, I have never heard anything quite like that. I think they're doing something in a genre that is really hard to be your own in. I think they're really taking rock in their own level, considering how new they are. And they're also, just a fantastic band. And then I like, honestly, everything. I'm a big 13th Floor Elevator fan, which is actually Rocky Erickson's first band. I love that stuff. It's early Psych, 69 Psych stuff. It's incredible. And then I'm a huge I Hate God fan. That's actually one of my biggest personal influences. Mike Williams is a writer. I really enjoy how he writes lyrically. It's very frenetic, but it's very good.
Both of you have mentioned basically no walls on certain artists. They played all different kinds of styles, or you just listed a bunch of different styles. I think it's pretty foolish for people to get pigeonholed as far as music fans into one genre. What would you advise anybody listening to this, how to approach new genres, or how to keep an open mind and discover new things?
Whatever hits you, whatever hits you at your core. I can tell you, and I can say this because I am a metalhead. Metalheads are the fucking worst about looking out. It's like, oh man, if it's not, whatever, then if
it's not true.
Yeah, anything can be heavy. Anything can be heavy.
The heaviest stuff is from the 70s, really.
Oh hell yeah, absolutely, man. It's just look for stuff, and I'll tell you, since I've been on the road with a lot of different guys, I can tell you a lot of those guys that write the heaviest music They never listen to heavy music. They're always listening to stuff that will shock you.
Were we just talking about that earlier with you playing? Yeah.
Yeah, you know, I mean, you know, Bobby Liebling and Pentagram, all he listens to is Blue Cheer, UFO, Rocky Erickson. You know, these bands will open up, you know, death metal bands will open up for Pentagram, and he'll look at me and he'll go, "What is this fucking bullshit going on out here?" You know, he doesn't get it. You know, he's a 60s, 70s guy. You know, so. And it cracks me up because those guys always come in and be like, "Oh, Bobby, you know, you've influenced us so much." And he goes, "I don't sing like the goddamn Cookie Monster. I don't. It makes no fucking sense, you know." So, you know, and so, anyways, you know, but that's just how those old school guys are. It's just, you know, and I believe they do mean it when they say that Bobby influenced them, you know, because, I mean, Pentagram, you know, that's America's Black Sabbath, you know, but. Yeah, you know, the best way to write music is going to be to listen to something that's not what you're trying to write. You know, chances are, if you've been inspired to play metal, then that's what you've listened to. So, you know, listen to something else, expand your horizons, you know, find what hits you. There you go.
Maybe go back to picking up records off the album covers again.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's a classic
Absolutely,
way to define.
man.
I mean, I'm trying to think of any... like that band Gun that has Ginger Baker in it.
Yeah.
I picked that up at a flea market.
Did you really?
Like $3.
I don't see those very often.
No, and I was like, "Oh, this is a cool cover," and I knew that "Race with the Devil" song, I believe is what it's called. Yeah. And it turned out to be a really awesome album just off the album cover, and I had no idea who it was at the time. So, that's pretty much it. Floor is yours. What else do you guys have to say on anything?
Oh man, come buy records. No, man. You know, I'm happy to be doing this. I'm glad Springfield, you know, this area. You know, I'm glad I could provide a full-on record store. You know, that's what we are committed to: is the music.
It's not
vinyl.
trying to rip the customers off.
Not trying to rip anybody off. Not trying to sell you anything. You know, promiscuous. Just to make a buck, you know. We're in it. We've actually got we've got some black metal royalty looking through the vinyl right now over here. Mr. Steve Childers of Black Witchery is over here. I think he's here to pick up a Leaf Hound record. It's a great. Oh yeah, man! It's very obscure. But yeah, check the Leaf Hound. Check them out. They're very mountain-esque / Sabbathy. You know, it's impossible to find, as some people might say.
Very rare.
Very rare. But oh man. Anyways, yeah, man. You know, just come in, start buying records, you know, or CDs, whatever, tapes, and just, you know, expand your horizons, see what inspires you. You know, don't just go to what you know all the time.
And join the Facebook page. I know you're old school and you want to do things in person, but
Facebook is
I'm trying to keep it up, man.
No, it's not that. It's the fact that you have to do that instead of, you know, like, I'm a huge pro wrestling fan, and I remember trading tapes. Yeah. You send VHS tapes, and, you know, back in the day you do that with music too, and now it's like if you're not on Facebook, you can't get the word out hardly at all. Mm-hmm. So
I know. It's been the best ever. I mean, I've been advertising on 97.3, and George Spankmeister's been awesome about pushing the store, but Facebook is just the best, man, and it's the cheapest. So they've been great.
Yeah, I want to add, honestly, as far as this record store, I've been in a lot of record stores, and this is honestly a privilege to work here with Dan. He's doing things for the right reason, and he honestly has his heart in it because he loves it. And I think people need to know that's very important. We're here to talk music, and really, we want to expand people what they're listening to. And I think this store really has something to it that a lot of places are missing. Really good vibe. And I think what he's got going on is going to be a really good thing for this town. It gives a lot of character to this area, I think, in the record world, and it's something we've been missing.
Thank you.
Guys, thanks for coming on.
Absolutely.
Hey, thanks so
Anytime.
much, man.
Anytime.
Everybody come check out Heavy Heads Records. You can find everything from Taylor Swift to Well, I bought some 80s hair metal Pantera. And let's see, what else did I get?
Don't forget the Mayhem.
Mayhem. I got the new Mayhem. Or newer Mayhem. So, yeah. Quite a variety. Awesome store. Come check it out. See ya. All right, so I'm glad you guys heard that. I hope you enjoyed it. And hopefully we'll be able to come back up there soon. Brent, what'd you think overall of the two guys just in the interview?
Oh, they're a great bunch of dudes. They really are. They're some really cool dudes. I had never met either one of them. I mean, very personable. Some of the most knowledgeable people I've talked to about music, honestly. You know, I sometimes have problems, you know, picking out, you know, individual band members and stuff and bands. And I mean, these guys were just like throwing it out like it was nothing.
Yeah, like Chimera?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh God. Yeah. Thanks for that. I feel bad about that. Not that they'll ever hear it, but I am sorry, guys.
Sorry.
No, it's all good. But no, I mean, just their range of, you know, music and everything, their taste and all that, and everything they have in the store it's very good. And I don't know, I had a really good time. I honestly did. It's hard to actually say, you know, enough positive stuff about it. So
yeah, so if you're in need of some records, and guys, they don't just carry records. They got tapes, they got CDs, they got DVDs, they had action figures, they had 45s, they had stickers, shirts, a little bit of everything. It's just an all-around store. Everything in it's great. I can't think of anything bad to say about it. So if you're in the Springfield, Missouri area, go in and check it out. If you're not in the area, just hit him up on Facebook. I'm sure if you get a hold of Dan and tell him what you want, if he's got it in stock or he can get it for you, I'm sure he'll ship it to you. So yeah, check out Heavy Heads on Facebook, Heavy Heads Records, and check us out on Twitter at the Vault Music One. And we recently launched our Patreon page. And we're going to get into more details on that on the next show. So until then, see ya. You guys can just keep talking so I can get an idea.
All right, on. We can give you an assessment of the red wine we're drinking.
Yeah, it's pretty tasty.
Louis M. Martin, $50 at Brown Derby. We're drinking it out of plastic cups, so, you know.
We're classy.
Proper fashion.